Hello, it's Dina again. I'm back to read the next chapters of Tiger Eyes by Judy Blume. We were at chapter 5. One afternoon, I am sitting in the living room, leafing through a magazine. I can't read anymore. I try, but the words blur together, or I find myself reading the same sentence over and over, and I still don't know what I have read. My mother and Jason are in their rooms, napping. We are getting to be experts at sleeping during the day. So when the doorbell rings, there's no one to answer but me, and it is you. When my dad died, reading is what helped me power through. I remember thinking, I don't want to read this bullshit. I don't want to do any of this. Sorry for cussing again. But remember, I did something. I got on punishment. I got grounded. No phone, no TV, no computer, nothing. I loved watching movies. Don't watch movies much now. I picked up a book because there was literally nothing else to do. I was stuck in the room. I was grounded. I was stuck in my room. My sister didn't want to come hang out with me. None of my sisters did. I have four sisters from my mom, and not one of them wanted to hang out with me while I was in the room. Yeah, I was grounded, but come on. Maybe one day I'll read that book. Maybe I'll read it again, see if it makes me projectile vomit like I did the first time. How's it going, Davy? He asks as he hugs me. Before I can answer, before I can lie and say okay, Hugh begins to cry. Damn, I think he was there. If I remember correctly, he was there watching her pops get shot up. Damn. And now he ain't got no job either. Which is fucked up because, like, guy he respected is dead. He needed this money, don't got no job now. His girlfriend's dad, dead. He watched it happen. And now he crying in her chest. Hugh begins to cry. I feel his body shaking and I back away, looking any place but at him. Oof. Oh, I remember when I read that back in the day, I was like, damn, girl. But then also like, damn, girl. I hear him sniffle and take a breath. How about a walk on the beach? No, I tell him. Your mother says you haven't been out of bed since the funeral. You haven't visited her since the funeral? That's what I just heard. Maybe I'm not hearing it right, but that's what I just fucking heard. So it will be good for you to get outside. My mother comes into the room then, pulling her robe around her. That's what I've been trying to tell her. Mom says she needs some fresh air. Oh, all right, I say, seeing the pain look on Mom's face. I go into the bathroom and splash my face with cold water. I have dark circles under my eyes and my suntan has faded to a yellowish color. I pull my rope belt through my jeans, which are falling off because all the weight I've lost since that night. I look like hell, but I don't care. I actually gained weight and continue to. Outside, the bright sunshine hurts my eyes, and I have to shade them with my hand. I follow Hugh down the stairs, but I don't look at the store. I don't actually call it shade my eyes. I be like, cover my eyes, but I guess technically that is shady. I know there's a closed sign on the door. I saw Walter printing it the day after the funeral. Hugh takes my hand. He rubs his thumb along the bottom of mine, trying to soothe me. I know this is hard for him too. I tighten my fingers around his to let him know I understand. We walk to the boardwalk and then across it to the beach. I take a deep breath and inhale the salt air, which is mixed with the aroma of roasting peanuts, taffy, and the musty smell of amusement piers. I don't know, sounds nasty, but amusement parks on the pier sound fun. Balance. I was conceived on the beach under the $1 million pier. Oh, I hate when parents tell those stories. My parents used to call me their $1 million baby. I'm the reason my father gave up his sports scholarship to Rutgers, and my mother went to work in a James saltwater taffy shop. In those days, Atlantic City was the pits, but not anymore. Now that gambling's been voted in, Atlantic City is supposed to become the next Las Vegas. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me. But damn. Now she's blaming herself for her daddy and her mama ain't living out their dreams. A lot of parents do blame their kids for that though. What are you thinking? Hugh asks as we walk around. Let's back up. Now that gambling's been voted in, Atlantic City is supposed to become the next Las Vegas. Hotels and casinos are sprouting up all over the place. What are you thinking? Hugh asks as we walk along the ocean's edge. Nothing, I say. And then Hugh puts his arms around me and kisses me. I mean, different strokes for different folks. I want to kiss him back, but I can't. I can't because kissing him reminds me of that night. So I break away from him and run. I hear Hugh calling, Davy, wait. But I don't wait. I run and run until I am home. Then I get in bed and stay for 5 more days. And stay there for 5 days. Well, I was too young to have a boyfriend. I definitely would have bit his face off if he tried that. I know you traumatized, but I'm traumatized too. My daddy died. Chapter 6. I don't want to start school. I don't want to do anything but stay in bed. Stay in bed with the covers over my head all day. At night I prowl around carrying my bread knife, and I check the lock on the door and listen for footsteps. I try not to remember that night. Not to remember the brown paper bag on my closet shelf. Not to remember anything. I don't actually remember what's in the paper bag. But now I'm curious. Maybe I'll remember halfway through, but I'm very curious. Very, very curious. Take a shower, Davy, my mother says, on the night before school starts. Wash your hair. I'll bet it's been 10 days. That's not like you. It's been 13 days. 13 days since I bathed. I know I smell, but I don't care. I roll over and pull the bed sheet up over my ear. My bed smells too. I like it. A warm, salty, slightly sour. Hell no! If I didn't take a shower, that would just be one more thing that was different. That would have been just one more fucking thing. Mama. My own unwashed smell coming from the inside of me. That sounds gynecological. Let me read that again. Maybe I'm coming from the inside of me. Like maybe that's just like a mental thing, and it's not like she actually smelling salty, sour smell coming from inside of her. I never smelled something salty and sour. But, you know, trauma and grieving is different for everybody. Please, honey, Mom says, don't wait until tomorrow morning to get ready for school. As if I am planning to jump out of bed in the morning and head right for the shower. She shakes me a little to make sure I'm listening. For me, Davy, do it for me, okay? Because nobody want to smell that. Yeah. And I'm sure your daddy will want you to wash your ass. My dad definitely would have wanted me to wash my ass. And I wash my ass. I don't think I'm going to stop cussing. So, that's too bad. It was the for me that gets through. My mother didn't pull guilt trips on me very often. And maybe she isn't even trying, but it works. There's still a side of me that feels badly for behaving the way I am. After all, I'm not the only one who cares about my father. So I get out of bed feeling wobbly from lack of exercise and so little food. I head for the bathroom. Mika follows me. She jumps onto the toilet seat and laps water up from the bowl. And laps up water from the bowl. She has her own bowl of fresh water in the kitchen, but there's something about drinking from the toilet water that really appeals to her. It's because it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, I personally wouldn't know, but it's been scientifically proven that the water that's standing still is different than the water that's more continually flushed and moved for the cats. And plus, it smells like their pride, which is humans, which is also nasty because what part of the pride does it smell? It's more like it's smelling private, but it's scientifically proven. I'm not gonna put a link though. Y'all can search. I trust y'all have critical thinking skills. She has her own bowl of fresh water in the kitchen, but there's something about drinking water from the toilet that really appeals to her. I've given up on trying to get her to stop. Minka is a beautiful calico with white paws. I got her for my 12th birthday. She's the only female in the litter. She was the only female in the litter. Linnea says Mika has an oral fixation, that she wasn't suckled enough as a kid, so she's trying to make up for it now. It's true that she'll lick you, fingers, toes, you name it, but that only makes her more lovable. I don't like when animals actually lick me. I don't actually like that. I don't like that at all. I wonder if Mika understands about my father. At times I think she does. That she senses something wrong. She's lost a lot of her playfulness since the night and spends most of her time curled up in a ball, sleeping on my bed, next to my leg. Or maybe she's just trying to comfort me. Who knows? They do know. And she is trying to comfort you. So it's both. I stand under the hot shower, soaping myself all over. I shampoo my hair twice and let the suds drip down my face, stinging my eyes. Damn. So when I was first reading this, I wasn't sure at the age if she was supposed to be white or some other race. Because this is very ambiguous, right? She could be a light skin. Lighter than me, but she could be a light skin, right? Like she could be one of those white light skins. But now that I'm older, she used no washcloth, so I'm thinking she is not so ambiguous. I used to sing in the shower. I like the way my voice sounds with an echo chamber. I wonder if I'll ever sing in the shower again. I wonder if I'll ever want to. I wrapped myself in a towel and walked down the hall to my room. My mother was changing the sheets on my bed. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. You didn't have to do that, I tell her. I know I wanted to, she says. You'll sleep better. Somebody had to do it, and it didn't sound like it was gonna be you. Sorry for your loss. I don't feel very well, I tell her. I might be coming down with something. I get into bed and lie back on the clean pillowcase. You're coming down with malnutrition and starvation, depression. That's what you're coming down with. Girl, you ain't ate nothing. You barely drank anything. Mom sits down on the edge of my bed. I remember my first day of high school, she says, tossing her hair away from her face. I have violent stomach cramps. I didn't want to go either. She takes my hands in hers. It's not that, I say. I know, Davy. Tears well up in her eyes. Don't you think I know? Yes, I tell her. But having you know isn't enough. The next morning, when I walk into the kitchen, Jason is wearing his Dracula cape and gobbling up his cereal. He can't wait to go back to school. And this year, I'm going to read real books. No more baby books. Right, Mom? Right, Jace, Mom says, buttering her toast. Baby books are fun, too. And what else? What else will I learn? A lot of interesting things, Mom says. I stand in front of the open refrigerator, but nothing inside tempts me. Part of me is hungry, another part can't get the food down. What did you learn in grade school, Davy? Jason asks, his mouth full of grape nut flakes. And it got a great crunch. A great crunch. That's sometimes all it feels like it is. All crunch. More of what I learned in first grade, I tell him. I close the refrigerator door. You're not going to wear that cape to school, I hope. Why not? I like it. Period. It makes you look like Dracula, I say. It's supposed to. Draculas are cool. Dracula is not cool. He's a weirdo. Trapped a man in his house. But if I did that, I wouldn't. But if I did do that, Mom, do you think he should? I think it's all right. Mom says, if it makes Jason feel comfortable. Comfortable, Jason repeats. He eats a piece of toast and then says, what about the store, Mom? Are you going to open the store today? Not today, Mom answers. When? Jason asks. I don't know. Mom tells him. My mother hasn't set foot in the store since that night. None of us has. I don't know what we're going to do. Ain't that they bread and butter? Yeah. That's dramatic. I meet Linnea at the bus stop, and when the bus comes, we find two seats together. It is crowded, with some kids standing in the aisle by the time we reach the next stop. I begin to get a closed-in feeling. It starts with my hands getting cold and clammy, and then there's queasiness in my stomach, and finally I begin to feel dizzy, as if I might pass out. I put my head down to the floor. Are you okay, Linnea asks. I can't answer. She bends over, her mouth close to my ear. Did you eat any breakfast? She asks me softly. I shake my head. Here, she says, going through her lunch bag. Eat this. She hands me an orange that has already been peeled. Girl, because you probably got scurvy. You probably didn't get yourself scurvy. I shove a piece into my mouth and bite into it, tasting the sweetness of its juice. I feel better. I make it through assembly where the principal welcomes our class to school through a short homeroom session, through English, where Linnea and I sit next to each other. She keeps looking at me, offering half smiles, and once she reaches over and touches my hand, which is trembling. But I hadn't known it until then. After English, I am on my own, trying to find room 314 where my geometry class is scheduled to meet. Where my geometry class is scheduled to meet. But I can't find it. I began to feel frightened. I can hear each thump of my heart. I can't seem to catch my breath, so I breathe harder and faster, trying to get some air into my lungs, but it doesn't work. Nothing works. Groups of kids are coming toward me in the hall, laughing and talking. One of them could be the junkie who killed my father. I think there's no evidence that the killer was a junkie or even a kid, but that is what I believe. I want to run. I want to run as far from school as I can, but I can't move. I can't get my feet going. Can't breathe, and then I pass out, hearing the thud of my head as it hits the floor. Bump. It don't make that sound. I just said that. Later, I am told that two girls and a boy helped me to the nurse's room. The nurse assumes that I'm having first day in high school panic. They don't tell the school that. They don't tell the school a serious loss in the family. I don't know. I mean, not everything is everybody's business, but if the girl ain't ate in a week or two, she ain't took a shower in 13 days. I'm guessing she ain't really ate nothing for real in 13 days. That's a fortnight, you know? Where am I at? It's not that. I try to explain from the cot where I am resting. I notice that my belt has been loosened and that my Adidas are arranged neatly under the cot. Then what? The nurse asks. She is very pretty with dark hair, tied back, and gray eyes. She has an accent. I can't place it at first, but after a while I recognize it as Oklahoma because my mother has a friend, Audrey, from Tulsa. And that's how she sounds. Growing up isn't easy, the nurse says, and I feel like laughing because she is so naive. A lot of us don't feel ready to leave the nest. No, I say, you don't understand. She smiles. Oh, I think I do. She looks over my medical form, which our doctor has filled out the end of June, and reads, no heart problem, no diabetes, no history of severe pain or fainting spells, and a normal periods. Well, no medical disorders at all. She smiles at me again and closes the folder. She walks across the room and puts the folder back in a filing cabinet and returns with a cup of water and two white pills. She hands them to me and says, down the hatch. She doesn't tell the student what it is, and the student has to ask. What are they? I ask suspiciously. Aspirin. I don't have a headache. With that bump on your noggin, it doesn't hurt, I say, unless I touch it. Even so, she says, let's go. She's going at least she didn't put a band-aid on the bump. She's going to stand over me until I swallow the aspirin. I can tell. I might as well get it over with, so I sit up and take the pills. That's a good girl. She's pulling a chair up to my cot. She sits down, adjusts her uniform over her knees, leans in close, and says, is it that time of the month, Davy? People just be asking people questions like that in the 80s? Do they still ask questions like this? They didn't ask me no question like this. I don't answer. I'm offended by her question. I would be offended. Strictly off the record, she says. Just between the two of us. No, I tell her. I don't do drugs. Oh. I skipped a part. Sorry. Is it that time of month, Davy? No. She looks at me for a while. I wish she would go away. Doesn't she have anything better to do on the first day of school, I wonder? And then she says, do you do drugs? I don't answer. I'm offended by her question. I will be offended by that question also. Strictly off the record, she says. Just between the two of us. School nurses are mandated reporters. Don't do drugs though, kids. Don't do drugs. No, I tell her. I don't do drugs. You didn't get stoned last night? No, I didn't. Booze? No. Is there a chance you might be pregnant? No. Not even a teensy weensy chance. Not even that. Her parents traumatized her. They got pregnant young, and now she thinks it's her fault that her parents didn't achieve their dreams when they were having unprotected sex under a dirty, musty pier. But I guess it was romantical. A boy comes into the room and then calls, "Nurse, I've got this incredible earache." The nurse pulls the white curtains around my cot, giving me privacy. I hear her telling the boy that 2 aspirin will probably help. Nah, that would have pissed me off bad. I close my eyes and drift off to sleep. On the second day of school, I pass out on my way to lunch. I am with Lindea, and she gets me to the nurse's room. Again, the nurse says, clucking her tongue at me, "What are we going to do with you?" When it happens on the third day of school, the nurse says, "You know what, Davy? I think it's time for you to see a doctor." So my mom takes me to Dr. Foster's office. He listens to me as I explain what's been happening, gives me a quick examination, and tells me to get dressed and come to his office. My mother and Dr. Foster are waiting for me there. On the doctor's desk is a picture of his wife, 2 sons. They were small. On the doctor's desk is a picture of his wife and 2 sons when they were small. They're older than I am now. He writes something on my chart and then looks up and says, "You're hyperventilating, Davy. Do you understand what that means?" Panic attacks. I thought I've been fainting. It's different than fainting. Kind of like asphyxiation. Dr. Foster explains, "This is caused by the way you're breathing. I breathe that way because I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I can't get any air at all." Yes, well, Dr. Foster says, we can all make ourselves hyperventilate. Drivers do it, sprinters before a race. You get a rush of oxygen to the brain. It can make you feel lightheaded. Why am I doing that? Anxiety. You've been through a lot. He looks over at my mother, who's fastening and unfastening the clasp on her purse. That word fastening is always catch me because I got a bit of a lisp. Why am I doing that? Anxiety. You've been through a lot. He looks over at my mother, who is fastening and unfastening the clasp on her purse. Each time she does it, it makes a clicking sound. Other than that, the room is very silent. A new school, a tragedy in the family. Dr. Foster continues. It's a lot to contend with at once. I think it is interesting that he puts the new school before the tragedy. He's trying to soften the blow. Of course, facing up to it is the best way of dealing with it. He rubs his eyes. Tell you what, he says. Let's give it another week. If you feel that you're beginning to hyperventilate, talk to yourself. Tell yourself when you are feeling anxious. That you are feeling anxious. That you have a right to feel anxious. Tell yourself to relax, to take breaths, to breathe. So try to breathe slowly, regularly. He scribbles something on the prescription pad, rips it off, and hands it to me. He's about to give it that Xanax. No, what is that? It's another one. It's not that. Don't listen to me. I forgot what it's called. I just said that because, well, I grew up around that time. And I want you to take this high potency vitamin with minerals. He stands up and a change of scenes might do her good. It might do all of you some good, if it's possible. Thank you, Dr. Foster, my mom says. She always thanks him when we're leaving, as if he's doing us a favor for being our doctor. Kinda a little. Anytime, Gwen, he says. And I mean that. Yes, I know, Mom says. She still got to pay for it, mind you. He pats me on the shoulder. You'll be all right, Davy. It takes time. That's all. The hurt doesn't lessen, but you get stronger. He didn't say that. I said that. I probably heard it somewhere. But I probably made it up because I'm awesome and cool. So, you know how it is. That night, Mom echoes Bitsy and Walter and phones Bitsy and Walter in New Mexico. I'd like to take you up on your offer, she says. Davey's been having some, she pauses, trying to find the right word, some trouble, she says. And the doctor has recommended a change of scenery. They don't got no money to go nowhere else. Free room and board. When Mom gets off the phone, she tells us that Bitsy and Walter are very glad that we're coming to visit. Do they have an ocean? Jason asks. No, but they have mountains. How high? Very high, Mom tells him. Can you fall off? No. You sure? Yes. You can fall down them. If you fall off, it's not a mountain. I'm pretty sure it's a ledge. Could be both, though, depending on which way you fall and where the mountain is. Walter and Bitsy make all the arrangements. Pretty sure it would just be a ledge. I don't know. For our flight from Philadelphia to Albuquerque. Oh, Philadelphia. I've been trying to figure out what state they. I've been trying to figure out what I've been trying to figure it out, but I didn't want to look too slow. But I guess I still do. Then they even arranged to have Mika travel in the cabin with me instead of underneath in the baggage compartment. They spent shmoney's. I worry about paying for the tickets because I know we don't have any extra money. Then Mom tells me that they have been prepaid by Walter and Bitsy. Of course I'm going to pay them back, Mom says, as soon as I get things organized. We're going to leave in 3 days. Like Jesus. I don't go back to school. It doesn't make any sense. We will be gone for another 2 weeks. We'll be gone for more than 2 weeks. And Mom doesn't give me an argument about it. So I guess that she agrees with me. I don't hyperventilate once in those 3 days. Instead, I think about the trip. About getting away. I try to picture New Mexico. I try to keep my mind from wandering back to that night. Every morning, Mom reminds me to take my vitamin. It's huge and hard to swallow, and it turns my pee green. When we are on the plane, somewhere between Chicago and Albuquerque, I flush the rest of the vitamins down the toilet. I wonder how much their premium was, and she's flushing those meds down the fucking toilet. Chapter 7. Bitsy and Walter meet us at the airport. Ooh. The sky in Albuquerque is bright blue and perfect, without a cloud. I've never seen such a sky. I can't stop looking at it. I can't believe it is real. The sun is shining and it is hot, but not an Atlantic City kind of hot, not sticky. That sounds terrible. Oh. I feel sticky now. We climb into Walter's Blazer. Mom sits in the front with Bitsy and Walter. Blazer, is that the Chevy? Jason and I sit in the back. He is wearing his Dracula cape. He never takes it off. It's in his mentals because his daddy did. I think he even sleeps in it. I hold Mika on my lap. Behind our seats is an open area where Walter has piled up our luggage. When I turn around to make sure that neither my bag nor my knapsack has been left behind, I notice the rifle. Or something that looks like a rifle. It's long and sleek. My heart begins to pound. Uncle Walter, I say. Is that a gun in the back? Yes, he answers. Is it loaded? I ask. You bet, so don't go messing with it. Is there a lot of crime here? I feel myself breathing harder, faster. No, Bitsy says. And on the hill I ask, interrupting. Yes, we call Los Alamos the hill, and up there we have virtually no crime at all. Then why do you carry a loaded gun? I ask, telling myself to relax. Relax and try to breathe. You never can tell, Walter says, especially down here. It's better to be safe than sorry. That is true. But if you knew there was going to be people in a car who had a trauma with the freaking firearm, maybe you should put it in a place where they can't see it too well. I mean, she is looking behind the car in the back, but come on. And also, you could have told her maybe it's for wild animals. Not that you trying to protect yourself from people who her dad was a person and they got shot, but maybe I'm overreaching, right? I don't know. Alright, where am I at? I don't understand, but decide not to pursue it because the whole subject is making me jumpy. And every time I ask Walter a question, he turns and speaks to me over his shoulder, taking his eyes off the road. I see my mother grab the back of her seat with one hand and hang onto the handle of the door with the other. Walter, Bitsy shrieks as he swerves and just misses, colliding with the passing car. Jesus Christ, Walter. Jason crashes into me laughing. Daddy had a gun in the store, right, Mom? Right, Mom says, easing her grip on the back of the seat. But he didn't keep it loaded because he was afraid I want to play with it, right, Mom? Right, Jace. Now, why don't you look out the window at the beautiful scenery? I am looking, he says. I can talk and look at the same time. He's not an airhead, Mom. The scenery is beautiful. We whisk by flat, open spaces with mountains in the distance, rising out of nowhere, stark and black, looking as if they're made out of paper mache. The land is brown, then yellow, then almost red. After an hour on the road, Jason says, I have to pee. There's no gas station, no restaurants, nothing, as far as you can see, except the land and the sky. Walter pulls off the road and takes Jason for a short walk. When they come back, we are on our way again. He got pee hands. Jason falls asleep with his head on my lap. He wakes up suddenly, not knowing where he is, and I can read the fear in his eyes. It's all right, I tell him, smoothing his hair away from his sweaty cheek, where it has stuck. I close my eyes too, and when I awaken, I can feel the pull of the blazer as we climb higher and higher. I have to yawn to clear my ears. How much longer? I asked Walter. Another 15 minutes or so, Walter says, turning around to face me. On the mountain, on an incline. Pay attention, Walter. I must remember not to talk to him while he's driving. Mika jumps from one side of the blazer to the other, chasing a little moth that has flown into the back window. I look at my watch, 5:30, but I remember that is New Jersey time. I don't know my geography. I guess I need to look up on that too. Because I thought Philadelphia was here on the west side of the states. There's that Arizona education kicking in. Here it is just 3:30. I reset my watch. We go around a series of S-curves with a sheer drop of hundreds of feet to our right. Jason grabs my hand and squeezes so hard he leaves finger marks. Around and around. And I understand why Bitsy calls Los Alamos the hill. Girl. Halfway up, Walter pulls off at a scenic lookout and we get out of the blazer to stretch our legs and take in the view. All there is for miles and miles is a sea of rocky cliffs, dropping away into deep canyons. I don't know how I will ever describe this view to Lene and Hugh. You can understand why Oppenheimer chose Los Alamos for the site of Project Y, Bitsy tells Mom. What's Project Y? Jason asks. The code name for building the atom bomb, Bitsy says. Los Alamos is the secret place where the scientists lived while they were developing it. I wonder who they got the land from. Ah, I love the smell of books. Is it still a secret place? Jason asks. Bitsy laughs. Is it still a secret place? Jason asks. Bitsy laughs. Not anymore. Jason is disappointed. We get back to the Blazer and drive for a few more miles until we come to the town itself. After the 2-hour drive, after the spectacular scenery, after hearing about the town as a secret place, I'm disappointed too. Alamos looks ordinary, flat and ordinary. I once went to visit a friend's brother at Fox Dix, an army base in New Jersey, and Los Alamos reminds me of it. Well, they were doing secret government experiments on people there. I mean, making an atom bomb there. So, it's going to look like military base. We could be anywhere, I think, as we drive past the shopping center, past the small library, past the post office, anywhere at all. We turn right into Diamond Drive, and Bitsy points out the high school, a sprawling brown cinder block of buildings. There are a lot of kids hanging out in the parking lot. They are dressed in t-shirts and jeans. I've forgotten that it is a Thursday and that most kids are in school. I wonder what's going on in my school in Atlantic City. Dang, they could just see the kids without fences. Maybe that's a generational thing. With all the serial killers in the 70s, they should have had fences around the school. Then we turn left and left again, and we pull into a driveway on a street where most of the houses look the same, with small, neatly mowed front lawns and rows of marigolds. Everything looks familiar to me, as if I've seen it all before, except for the mountains. Here we go. Missy sings. Here we go. Oh, here we are. And that's suburbia for you. Everything looks the same. It's sprawling and sprawling and confusing. Like, if you were to get lost going into some suburban neighborhood that you've been to multiple times before, like, that wouldn't make you, like, a bad driver or anything. Right? There's another car parked in front of the garage with the bumper sticker that reads, "I love my Volvo." Bitsy pats it on the way to the house and says, "This is my baby." I'm thinking of another character from a book that I absolutely fell in love with that has a Volvo. The cars are not as cute as I was led to believe, but from Volvo owners, I'll say they're very well made. And I mean, the car would have to be rather well made for this other character because they have superhuman strength. So, you know, Walter carries in our bags, then goes back out to hold down the Blazer, while Bitsy takes us on a tour of the house. She explains that it had been a government-built duplex, but that she and Walter have renovated it, making it into a one-family house. Inside, there's a huge living room. There's a huge living dining room. The furniture is early American and seems small, but only because the room is so big. There's a fireplace flanked by two sofas, which are piled high with needlepoint pillows. In the kitchen, opens the freezer and says, in the kitchen, Mitzi opens the freezer and says, we buy a side of beef every year. Jason and I peer into the freezer. I expect to see half a cow. When I first heard that, I also expect to see half a cow, even though I'm a grown adult. But I'm like, after I realized they just chop that shit up and portion it out, I'm like, does it make sense for it to be a whole half a cow? A whole cow torso in the freezer? No, it doesn't. I expect to see half a cow, but instead there are just stacks of neatly wrapped packages labeled 1 pound ground meat, 3 pounds chuck roast. There are also stacks of frozen vegetables, enough to last 6 months. That's so sexy of Bitsy and Walter, to be honest. Wish I could afford a half a cow at one time. Probably wouldn't get it. I'd probably get a bunch of chickens. Upstairs there are 2 wings. Bitsy shows us 2 ours, which consists of 3 small bedrooms and a bathroom. It's not very different from our house in the Atlantic City. Bitsy and Walter have a bedroom and bath in the other wing. Supper on the deck in an hour, Bitsy says. I close the door to my room and flop onto the bed with Mika, but Mika is anxious to explore and doesn't want to be held. She likes the little balls on the white Chanel bedspread. Let's see what Chanel bedspread looks like. This video is going to be way longer than the other one, but hey. Yeah, that was a crazy video. That's scary. I'll watch that later. Oh, I never knew what that was called. I just called that like a type of quilted bedspread. They're actually very cute. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Hold on, let me. Oh, I like that. Let me bookmark this. Okay. I bookmarked this because I might want to look. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, shit. I wasn't supposed to click it. But hey, I think this is cute. It's kind of, you can barely see it because of this fucking ring light. But I like it. Oh, I like it a lot. How much for a it's very cute. It comes with the whole set. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's worth it. I mean, it's a bit expensive for me, but it's definitely worth it. Now, on the wall there's a group of old photos. I studied them for a long time before I realized they're of my father's family. Sometimes I forget that Bitsy is my father's sister, that they had the same parents. There's a refinished trunk at the foot of my bed with the yellow and white Afghan folded over it. I tossed the I tossed the Afghan onto the bed and opened the trunk. It's empty, but it has been carefully lined with paisley print material. I like paisley. If it were my trunk, I'd keep special things in it, like my Angora sweater set in my diary and my favorite books. I decide to unpack, sure that I will feel better once I put my things away. I arrange my clothes in the dresser drawers and hang my dress and the two jackets in the closet. I put the brown paper bag on top of the closet shelf over the corner. I shove the bread knife under my pillow. There, finished. I scoop up Mika and carry her down the stairs. The rest of the family is already outside. Jason is in the back lawn, tossing and frisbee into the air. My mother is stretched out on a lounge chair on the deck, sipping a drink. Walter is dressed in a chef's apron and is cooking hamburgers on the grill, as opposed to what, Tina? And Missy is flitting in and out of the house, carrying dinner plates, a wooden salad bowl, and a basket of fruit. Suddenly, I feel hungry. I don't know if it's the hour, the smell of charcoal, broiled hamburgers, or what. I love the smell of grilled food. I love the smell of a lot of food. But something about the fire. But I haven't felt so hungry since before that night. I used to have this really intense appetite. And Mom was always teasing me that I never watch it, that I better watch it or I'll wind up fat. Fat phobia in the 80s, not surprising. There's still a fat phobia in the 20s, so, you know. Not likely. I only weigh 101 pounds and I'm 5'5". And now with all the weight I've lost, I probably weigh no more than 95. Ooh, she was even skinnier than, what's her face? I forgot the name of that book. But she said, like, I'm a buck 10. How could he lift me and I'm so heavy. Walter checks the meat and calls, Jason, supper's on. Mind you, I would not name my kid Jason in the 80s. I don't know when the Slasher Village came out, but Jason? Hey, you know, not a lot of people watch horror movies back then, I don't think. Jason comes racing back to the deck, and we sit down at the redwood table. Well, Bessie says, waving her fork. What do you think of our place? It's beautiful, Mom says, but she sounds dreamy, as if she's talking about something else. Bessie sighs. You know, Davy, when we bought this house, we expected to raise a family here, but says Lovey. I don't respond. I don't know what to say. We tried for years, Bitsy continues. We went through every test imaginable, didn't we, Walter? We did, Walter says. Of course, today we have so many new methods, but it's too late for us. They literally, I gotta get rid of this. They literally could have adopted. Well, since this was longer, this will be the last chapter, because the video is about to be an hour long. Of course, today we have so many new methods, but it's too late for us. I think about my parents taking a chance just one time and wham, getting me. I wonder how Walter and Betsy feel about that. I'm sure they know, and I wonder why they never adopted a baby if they wanted one so badly. But I don't ask. I finish my hamburger and reach for a second helping of potato salad. People got a lot of hang-ups about genetics. They got so much hang-ups about genetics that certain places learn from us. And then people get surprised when it seems like we're doing it nowadays. You see that apricot tree, Missy says, pointing. We planted it the year we moved in. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, we all answer at once. We're just so happy that you're here, Missy says, giving mom's arm a pat. And we want you to have a wonderful time. I mean, it's better than being miserable and moping, right? Betsy's talking as if we're already on vacation, as if we are really on vacation, as if everything is fine and dandy, as if we are just an ordinary family visiting their relatives and having supper on the deck. No one mentions the real reason for our being here. No one mentions my father. Nobody mentions my father. For dessert, Bitsy carries out a strawberry ice cream pie with a graham cracker crust. That sounds nasty. Yum, Jason says, tasting it, licking his lips. It's really good. This is really good. He wolfs it down, then runs back in the yard to play with his frisbee. Bitsy serves coffee to the rest of us. I never drink coffee, but I accept a cup anyway. Then disguise it with 4 sugars and pour cream up to the brim. Only 4 sugars? I can't do coffee. That shit is too bitter for Zena. I have listened as Walter and Bitsy chat on about the town, their friends, and all of the interesting sights we were going to see. And then suddenly Jason is crying. Mommy, Mommy. He's running back to the deck, his hands over his face. When he takes them away, I see the blood gushing and dripping onto his clothes and onto the deck. I panic and scream. I scream and I scream until Mom grabs me and shakes me. Stop it, Davy. Stop it. It's just a nosebleed. That's all. A nosebleed. Yeah, they way up high. She hugs me tightly and my screams turn into sobs. It's all right, honey, Mom says over and over again. It's all right. Bitsy shoves a glass under my nose and says, here, take a sip. I try to say, what is it? But I can't get the words out. Still, Bitsy must understand me because she says, it's brandy. It'll make you feel better. I take a sip and it burns my throat. Burns my throat and makes me cough. I take a second sip anyway, and then a third, and it makes my stomach feel warm. I sit down and try to breathe normally. You sure can't scream, Jason says. He is sitting on Walter's lap, an ice pack pressed into the back of his neck. It's the high altitude, Walter tells me. Some people get nosebleeds when they first come here. He'll be fine. I'll be fine, Jason repeats. Did you think I was going to die? No, of course not, I answer. Then why did you scream that way? I shake my head, unable to answer. Yeah, I don't see my freaking book. Oh, it's right here. Yeah. See you guys next time.